Hey everybody, it's Ryan with Pie Records, and I'm here with Hayley Cane Crusher, and she's got a wonderful band, Hayley and the Crushers, on Rita Records, and I'm excited to talk to her. How are you, Hayley?
Well, hey Ryan, I'm excited to talk to you too. I'm good. My dog just got done with the vet yesterday and had 10 teeth pulled.
Ah,
So, did you know that dogs have 40 something teeth? They have a lot of teeth.
wow.
But I woke up this morning, my dog was in my bed with me. He's all swollen and stuff. And I looked at him and thought, as long as I'm so much better than you are right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because with COVID, there's good days and bad days, but I mean, I'm just, it's like funny how low the bar is now with COVID. Like
Yeah.
if it's a good day, the sun's out, it's fine. So we're good
Yeah.
over here.
Oh my God. Would you mind me asking what happened that you had to have 40 teeth pulled?
He had 10 teeth pulled.
Oh, 10.
Yeah, but dogs have 40 teeth. Just he's a Chihuahua breed, California got to have a Chihuahua breed, and their teeth get bad really easily. It's just a breed thing, but
Mhm.
it felt very dramatic. Like I'm really taking my best friend to get 10 of his teeth pulled. Am I a monster? Am I a terrible mother?
Oh my God.
Which I might be.
No.
Yeah,
It's always hard taking a dog to the vet because you
yeah,
never
for
know.
sure. Yeah.
Um, all right, so let's dive right into the music. First, I want to say I really like the song Jackaranda. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that came to be and how you put it all together, what it's about?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that so much. I was feeling very antsy. I live in San Luis Obispo, California. It's midway between LA and San Francisco. And I was feeling very antsy and ready to go on tour, as a lot of musicians can relate to. There's that period of time where you're on the road and it's so fun and exciting. And then that time when you come home, and sometimes it's very relaxing, and other times all you can do is think about the next tour. And the last couple of years, Hayley and the Crushers has toured quite a bit in the Midwest and along the West Coast up to Seattle. And so we had this momentum going, and I noticed the Jackaranda trees in our area. They're these beautiful subtropical trees with a beautiful purple hue. People are watching this as well as listening. So it's kind of like purple, like my hair bow
Yeah.
today. It's like a bright purple, and it's amazing. They just bloom all at once, and it's this gorgeous bright purple. And it was funny, I just hadn't been in town for so long. I came back between tour dates and was like, wow, that's so crazy. I'd never really noticed them before. And it felt like the trees were kind of like mimicking my desire to get out. I love where I live, obviously, but it's a smaller scene. It's a smaller town. We have about 40,000 people. And of those people, many are retired and many are, you lived in Monterey, you know how California can be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the song's about. And of course, add a little love song to it, and then people can relate more. That sense of longing could be for the road, or it could be for a person. And I think it's important to like try to connect the emotion to as much as I can, so it's not just about a specific thing. But it's funny how many people are like, what the hell is a jacaranda? Like, how do I say jacaranda? Like, I even had a guy, it was so great, during an interview, he was like, did you name that song after the strip club that the Beatles went to, like when they were on tour? Like, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. But it's great. That song has really connected, and I feel like it is our more like radio friendly song. So I love that it's getting a lot of love out there. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. Um, I when I was going through your catalog, I noticed you have a very high output of material. Um, what keeps you so busy, being that you toured so much?
Well, I think it's when a band is really, I hate to say prolific, that's so pretentious sounding, but when a band has a really high output, I think it means that there are some components in the band that are really committed to that. And being married and committed to my bass player, Dr. Reed Kane, it's like living with your bandmate. So many bands, they got people in different areas and they got to schedule stuff. And if they want to send a demo, it's a whole thing. I can wake up and have my morning coffee and be like, hey, Reed, what do you think of this? And then we can go straight into GarageBand, do a demo. And then from there, I have to give a lot of credit to Reed because Reed Kane, because he's actually the kind of guy that taught me not to be precious about music, and that the song, let the chips fall where they may. The song could be good, the song could be bad, but you have to put it out there. And so a lot of times we put stuff out there maybe even earlier than we maybe should, but it's better for me. I feel like, we don't know how much time we have, right? And I'm not 16 years old. Hell, I want to go tour as much as I can. I want to play as much as I can. I think it just comes from a sense of passion, but I'm so grateful I'm married to my primary song partner. I mean, I can't understate that enough. I can't do it alone.
That's very interesting. I work with my wife, and she is a huge idea person. She says, she gives me great ideas, and we work well together. So I totally understand that, and I understand the need to keep the momentum going and have a high output and my philosophy on that is get as much out there as you can. So it kind of matches up with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think part of it is you have to quiet your ego, because your ego is going to always tell you it's not good enough or whatever, or the perfection demon. I definitely suffered from a perfectionist mindset for a couple years there. Before I was really creating music, I was just going to shows. I was living in the LA area as a teenager, and all I did was drink and go to shows, as a lot of people can relate to. I think I always knew I wanted to create the music and be on stage, but I had a little bit of that, like, do I deserve to be there? Did I do that? Like, I felt like I was Steve Urkel. I don't know where the Steve Urkel just came from, but it's important to remember that it's actually kind of egotistical to think that you have to be perfect. It's egotistical to think that you need to be like the best of the best to put stuff out there. I mean, it's more humbling to just be like, I'm a human being. I'm going to make music. I'm not going to stop. It is what it is. Love it or hate it. That is the hurdle, I think, for a lot of artists. It's not, can they do it? There's so much talent out there. It's about the people that are talented that get shit done and do it. And it is hard. Some days I'm like, like, I don't always feel the most confident as I might portray myself on like social media. It is a struggle, but it's like, that's, as you probably know, that's like the payoff, right? Is you feel like, whoa, we accomplished something here. We made a song. Yeah. Finally, it took maybe a couple of weeks or a month or a year, but we did it.
Totally. One thing I love that matches you kind of up with Rita Records is the bold colors you use in your videos, in your records. I think that's a statement in itself. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. That's a great question. You had so many good questions already. I love it. It's funny, Jamie, I have to give a shout out to Jamie Radu over at Rita Records, amazing label named after her mother, who sadly is not here anymore. But somebody who really supported and pushed her. And Jamie has been amazing and ensure that artists that are, women artists basically are getting the love and deserve, the love and the shine that they deserve. And so I have to give a huge shout out to Jamie. I know she was on a podcast, so go listen to that podcast. But we were just talking this morning because we're doing a special project with Church of Flag, our new single. And I've just revealed the iridescent holographic, label that's going to go on this project, which I can't tell you much about, but you can look it up. And it's so funny because she was DMing me. She was like, oh my gosh, Hayley, I love that the colors just really represent, because it's like bright pink and purple and crazy and iridescent and holographic and crazy. And she's like, I just love that it represents the label and it represents you. Like, we're a good partnership. Like, I'm so glad that we're friends because we have the same aesthetic. But to speak to like the statement, I mean, you're obviously touching on something pretty more deep, I suppose. And I think you're onto something there. And I don't know if everybody would scratch beyond the surface. They would say, oh, Hayley, she's fun and colorful. Next. But It absolutely is a statement, because I have to tell you how there's a lot of bands out there and a lot of art out there that their main goal is to be cool. Their main goal is to be seen as mysterious. The main goal is to be esoteric, right? And I just don't buy that. And I'm not for that. I don't stand for that. I'm not talking down on any other bands or whatever, but there's this trend culturally towards that. And you know what? I say unapologetic joy is a political act, especially for a woman. To be on stage, to look like you're in a swimsuit and you're running through the sprinklers and it's the middle of summer and you're like loving your life basically. And for me anyways, all of my own anxiety and depression demons, which I certainly have, like the color, the brightness, it's a response to the darkness inside of me. And it's, as a woman, I don't really give a fuck. Sorry. I don't give a fuck if I'm considered cool, mysterious, whatever. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I want to just be here and kind of be an example for other women that no, you can be loud and proud and happy and colorful and still be taken seriously, hopefully. You know, not to like make it too deep, but I mean, I'm a neurotic person. I've dealt with mental illness. I've been medicated for mental illness. It's really each of our responsibilities to look for the joy and the sunshine and also to give that to other people. You know, I have to cling to that, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny you mention that, because I make no secret that, I also have the depression and anxiety problems. So when I see something, you're right, there's a lot of kind of bleak, straightforward artwork and representation. And the first thing I noticed was the brightness of your your aesthetic, your videos, the Jackaranda videos, the do where you kind of roll your eyes at the skateboarder, and and I was kind of like, oh my god, like she just doesn't give a fuck, and she's just gonna go out there and do her thing, and I can appreciate that, having two daughters. Just, you know, my one daughter always says about my other daughter, she gives zero fucks, because she's her own individual. She's very strong. They're both very strong, but she has a very independent mind. And do you think that's something that you want to carry over with maybe the younger people that might be interested in your band?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, that's so cool. I love that. You have two like awesome, strong, cool as fuck daughters. That's so cool. But I think that just by the act of doing what I do, I know from my experience, I soaked in and watched everything from commercials to what my parents are doing to what the cool kids are doing. Children are soaking in and watching and knowing more than you think they know. And I think just the act of being a woman doing what you do unapologetically is enough. They're going to notice and they're going to be part of that. And so I don't really write for them, but I've noticed I have like this great fan base. I always laugh about it, like middle-aged dads with cool as fuck kids, like cool daughters.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love the cool dads. Like I have cool dads on lock. Like I just want to get like cool dads. Haley Crusher's cool dad. Like maybe you would rock that, you know?
Oh, yeah,
And
totally.
that's great. And honestly, I think it's a testament to your daughters and to all the cool, you know, young women I meet all the time out there, that I'm not really pandering to them. They're just noticing what I'm doing. And like, they're like, oh, that's super cool. You know, I'm not singing about girl power at all, you know? But to that point though, I do write for Bust magazine, and like, I do that as I don't get paid for that. I do it so that I can write about bands that I think are great, like the Baby Shakes or Alice Bag or Pale Lips, or any number of bands that, you know, they deserve the spotlight. And I know how much I've appreciated people taking a chance on me. So I want to do that for other people, because I think as a woman, sometimes it's funny. I've actually been rejected from like a women's showcase because I didn't have enough women in my band. So there's this weird line where you can be kind of fetishized for being an all-female band. You can be penalized for, you know, having cis white men in your band. I'm not saying anything about that except that, let's be a little bit more broad and like look at things from a little more holistic view. If a woman is fronting a band, she may be straight, she may be white, whatever, from America, it's still a woman. She's still trying to do her thing. And, there's a place for all of us. And I feel like I'm being political here, but I'm not trying to be. Please don't cancel me. I just find it really funny when, it just, I never know, like, is this podcast host or this festival gonna fetishize me for being a woman, going to think less of me, or there's always something attached to it, and so it's fun to play with that. Like, I try to play with it. Like, I don't shy away from sexuality or a playfulness or even just confusing the fuck out of people. Like, I love that. Like, coming on like you're happy, like a cheerleader, like I have my cheerleading outfit, but then like playing a super punk rock song and, screaming and getting crazy. I mean, my screaming is not really screaming. I'm not like a riot girl, but my version of screaming.
So, but I totally get what you're saying. And the same works, I think, for a band like the Pixies, where Kim Deal was kind of like fetishized, but was super like talented in her own right.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of works in a lot of different ways to what you were speaking.
Sure. And that's a great example of someone who is perceived as mysterious, though, and it really worked for her. Like, she really rode that aura, her own aura. And that's cool. That's great. I mean, I like her. She's great.
So there's one thing that struck me when I was listening to one of your albums in the car, and I was really enjoying it. And I'm like, okay, right away it struck me bands like the Runaways. And then I'm like, oh, she's kind of got a Go-Go's vibe. And one of my favorite bands is the Go-Go's. And so I'm listening, and wouldn't you know it, This Town came on. I'm like, I knew it. And I took and I was like, yes. And you don't hear a whole lot of Go-Go's covers out there. So could you talk about that?
Sure. First of all, I have to say we have another Go-Go's cover in the works. I can't say anything else about it, but hell yeah, we're gonna do another one. So, and also the Go-Go's are being inducted, or they're a nomination. They're nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame finally. Yes, we know. Yeah. So I don't know when it's coming out, but like go vote, go vote, because they're not on the top. Like, they might not actually get inducted because I think they're pretty low on the list, which is absurd because they're one of the first all-female rock band to do all the amazing things they did, like #1 singles and selling the amount of records they sold and all that stuff. When I was like 7 years old, I was kind of just going through my mom's CDs, and there was some cool stuff. There was like some jazz, some Elvis Costello, and my mom was like a kind of an artist type in New York in the 70s. So she had cool records, or CDs rather. This was like in the 90s. But the Go-Go's CD is really what got me. Beauty and the Beat got me in the heart. And so I think that was a huge influence on me. But it's so strange how the world works, because I never thought I sounded like Belinda. I never, ever in a million years would have thought that connection. But the minute we started producing music, reviewers were saying it. And I was like, that's so strange. It's so perfect, because I love the Go-Go's and they were a huge influence and still are. But it's like, wow, like I do kind of sound like Belinda in certain contexts. And now I just kind of go with it. Like, we'll do a take and Reed will be like, that was like a really Belinda take. And I'm like, whatever. But I mean, I don't even need to explain this to the listeners. It's like, obviously, let's check them off. Fun, great songs, so sticky that, with the exception of Talk Show, which we won't talk about, but so sticky, the melodies are like lethal. Like you better be prepared to like wake up at 3 a.m. and have a Go-Go song in your head. Like, that is what I aspire to be. Yeah. Did you see the Go-Go's documentary? What did you think of it?
Oh my God. First of all, I thought part of it was sad, as usually some are.
Yeah.
But I love that the part where they just went out in the desert and they just did a whole bunch of shit, and they got out of LA. They got out of LA and just were kind of like bonding as a unit. You know, drugs were involved. That's not my thing, but the fact that they left that scene to bond was the thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah, it was great. I like that Belinda kind of stepped back a little too and let the other gals kind of talk more. It was
Yeah,
less about her. And I thought that was really nice. And they even talked about some of the issues with like songwriting and publishing and like who got paid what. And that's all very illuminating. And like, you don't always hear that in documentaries, you know? I thought that was cool. But I've always wanted to have a girl band and it just never worked out. It was always a disaster. And I have to say, like, I have a project right now. I can kind of say, well, Jamie's involved and another gal is involved. Natalie Sweet. Natalie Sweet is involved. And so we're all going to be doing this project together. We've been writing songs together. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be like our version, not of the Go-Go's, but just of that camaraderie, like that, you know, female energy all working together and trying to create music. So I'm excited to finally have like my own girl band. Finally, like I've always wanted one.
it sounds very cool, and I'm a big fan of female music, only because I think it's underrated and people sometimes don't give it a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Taylor Swift. I'm talking about bands.
Right. I mean, nothing against Taylor Swift, but I think in general, the female experience and female like energy, not to sound too California woo-woo, but is always kind of not as valued. And the masculine energy is more valued in our culture and our society because that's just how our culture and society has been for so many years. But I think when I look at the youth and I look at how androgynous they are, of course, it's kind of annoying when people are always correcting their pronouns. I mean, I'm a vintage millennial, I'm old, so I don't always understand it exactly the way they want it to be understood. But what I do see from this is a rejection of pink or blue and a rejection of male and female that is really exciting. And I think that we're going to start seeing really just a really punk rock rejection of those norms. And I want to see that energy change so that when you look at a female band or whatever you want to call it, that's not going to be such a, you know, hot button thing. It'll just be like a band. And I see that happening for Gen Z, you know, and that's exciting. And I like, I do feel old. Like I do get it, but I also don't. And that's part of it. Like, you're not supposed to necessarily understand everyone's generation, but I like it. And I like what I'm hearing. And I like the vibe. Like, I think we're on like a really groovy path to, I mean, I hate to say it, I mean, the hippies tried to make this happen and did not work out. It was horrible. But there's some change coming. I'm sure with daughters, you can tell that there's some female norm things that are kind of going by the wayside, right?
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
My daughters are very athletic, and you know, if I do say so myself, they're pretty fucking tough. You know, they could take a hit and get right back up, and that's one of the things where my wife comes in. That's how she was. She played lacrosse, and she's a very good role model for my daughters. Like, just to get back up when you get knocked down. You know, that's an important thing.
Totally. Still working on that myself.
in more of a metaphorical way, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's great though.
So I want to talk about where people can find you on
Cool.
social media, and where people can get your records. You have vinyl.
Yeah, well, this is all about vinyl, right? So we have vinyl records, vinyls. Don't you love it when people say that?
Oh,
We
no.
got vinyls. I love it. I love it so much. We have records. We have records at our Bandcamp. You can go to our website, which is hayleyandthecrushers.com with 2 I's. So we're working with Rita Records, Surf and Kai Records, Eccentric Pop Records, and we have a new project coming out, which I will announce soon. So we're kind of spreading the love around in terms of where to get our stuff. And we like to support independent and cool record labels. You know a thing or two about that. And also I want to shout out to Rumbar, because Rumbar Records just put out a CD of some of our 2020 singles called Fun Sized. It's not on vinyl, but it is on compact disc, high fidelity compact disc. So yeah, we just, part of the joy of doing what we do is talking to people like you, being involved with labels that are cool, people that are doing DIY, putting it into practice. I mean, that's all a band is, right? So it's like, as many of these cool labels as we can work with, we're so stoked to do it. And if anyone wants to do an 8-track with us in the future, let me know.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Well, so that 8-track that we do, it's actually kind of like a glorified download card, because it's basically like, it's probably like a Sonny and Cher, or like, I don't know, Conway Twitty from the thrift store, but we put our sticker on it with like the download. Yeah. However, my friend Dougie Tangent, one of our drummers, has told me I don't know if you know this person, she's out of, I want to say Detroit, and she actually dubs like 8-tracks, and I'll send you the link if you're interested.
Oh wow.
I just thought it would be fun to have a real 8-track player,
I had 8-tracks. I had Kiss Alive 2 on 8-track. It was two because the album's so long.
And did it melt and get all crazy and you had to like tape it back together?
Well, this is when I was a teenager, so that was in the 80s. That was in the 80s. Okay. But I had a few. I had double platinum, and I got a kick out of them. I could never understand though the different tracking, the way that it was kind of set up like a DVD where there was 3 songs, then 3 songs on one track. It was really, really kind of strange to me because I only listened to records at the time.
Yeah. My parents had an old Airstream like silver bullet trailer, and they had an 8-track player in there that was like Elvis or Hawaiian music or something. Uh-huh. And my sister and I would sit in there, and it smelled like dead raccoon, and we would just like listen to the 8-track. But we always liked weird old outdated stuff. So what would be fun actually is to do a mini disc, like one of those little mini CDs. Or actually my friend's band, I should mention them. They're called Pure Love Gang. They're from San Luis Obispo. They're so fun. They did a floppy disk for a show we did.
Oh, nice.
And so they had their songs on like, or I guess it was a hard disk. It was like the big one. And I looked at it. I was like, are you trying to outdo us here? They're like, yeah. Because we had our 8-tracks. And I was like, you know what? You win. Because it was so funny looking. It was just like, it took me way back to like elementary school. I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the creative ways. I love the tapes are coming back, because tapes were a big part of my growing up. Chuck Coffey from Snappy Little Numbers sent me some cassettes to do promos for. I don't even have a cassette player, so I have to get a cassette player so I can do videos for him.
That's so funny.
But it's I just thought that maybe the digital thing isn't as aesthetically pleasing as to having some sort of physical copy, whatever that is.
Yeah, we need something to hold on to. But I gotta say, Chuck saved our butts. He actually played for us. He played drums for us in Colorado with Doc Hopper.
Doc Hopper, wow.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you about this show. What the hell? Okay, it was in Colorado. I think Colorado Springs. Yeah. I'm really bad with places, but it was definitely in Colorado. I think it was Colorado Springs at Surfside 7. And I could be wrong. But there was like no one there. There was nobody there. They were amazing. And I couldn't believe it. I was just like, what is happening? How is this? When you're at a show like that and you're just like, there should be 1,000 people here at this little, it was a little venue, whatever. And it wasn't anything to do with them. There was actually a freak snowstorm that happened. And so we all played. I mean, I guess there were like 20 people. It wasn't like it wasn't anyone's fault. It was the snowstorm, but it was like a very intimate show. They were amazing. And I was like, holy shit. And Chuck played, he was wonderful. And we stayed at his house for actually a couple of weeks when we were out there. And After the show, Reed and I got in the van and we were like heading to somewhere else in Colorado. And the freak snowstorm happened. And we woke up, and this is like for California people. I mean, Reed's from Colorado, but he's been in California 10 years. So he was pretty shocked. It went down to like, I don't know, 4 degrees or something. And we woke up and like my bra was like an icicle. Like our lotion was like a block of ice because we slept in the van. Like everything was like preserved in ice when we got out. We like got up and we're just because we knew. I mean, we knew it was really cold that night. But we get up, we go outside. The van's like covered in snow, and it was like one of those moments where it was actually like, ooh, this is like what tours are all about, you know? Like what an adventure, you know? But because we don't have a heater in the van, and it made me realize like, okay, we actually do need to. Like we are from California, but like we really need to think more about wearing wool socks. Like, you know, we wear wool socks to bed now in the van, and we, you know, make sure that the lotion's like put away, because if you leave it out, it will like freeze. And so that was an interesting experience, but they were great. Like they were such a good band.
Now, I want to talk about something you mentioned earlier about kind of supporting other bands and labels. I originally had an interview with Marty at Green Noise. He connected me to Jamie at Rita, and Jamie connected me to you and a bunch of other people in the Sorrells. And I was kind of like, this is what it's all about. Like one thing leads to another, and sooner or later everybody's connected. And that's kind of why I do it, you know. It's not a genre specific thing. It's just about being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Totally. I think you said it perfectly. I mean, everything you just said, absolutely. Like if it's not for that, then what is it for? Because it's sure as hell not for the fame. It's sure as hell not for the money. It's sure as hell not for the groupies or the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, we do it for a sense of family and a sense of, I think I mean, I'm not the first to say this. I won't be the first or the last to say it, but you know, the people that are in punk rock are incredibly sensitive. They're unique, they're creative, they're damaged. And a lot of them have found and created families for themselves. And as much as I love my family of origin, I fiercely love all my friends and my music friends, and they lift me up and, you know, support me and inspire me. And I have to focus on that, you know, because for me, for everyone who does this, it's like you're getting so much out of the music and obviously putting out records and doing stuff with your friends. And, you know, like we got Chuck and we got Martin and we got Jamie and all these people. I mean, I know these people too. And it's like, it's not just about Martin buying a bunch of our records and selling them, which he did, which like, so grateful. It's also like his emails saying how much he appreciates what we do. His like knowing the references. He was like all the references. He's so great with that stuff. I was like, you understand us. I feel seen. Like you get so much out of it. And I think being part of a DIY like community, if you're not getting that feeling, you're on the wrong, like you're doing the wrong thing, right? If you're in a scene where you can't reach out and feel supported and like support others, and you know what I mean? That because I've been in those situations in different communities or different cities before the internet was like really crazy. Because the internet, like, I think a lot of what you're saying is it's really the internet. You know, the internet allowed you to find not just weirdos, but the weirdos that are perfect for you. And I don't connect with every weirdo that has a Black Flag patch. I connect with like some of them. But I remember before the internet was such a big thing, it was like you saw someone with a t-shirt and you were like, oh, you like the Ramones? Like, you know, and there was that like that idea that person could be cool and like could understand you could understand each other and have a basis for a conversation. And I think like the internet has been amazing. I mean, I've never met Jamie in person, and I'm like in a band with her and we do music together. Like, how crazy is that? Or the fact that we get to talk. So it's kind of cool that like we can be DIY, but also like total, I don't know, like virtual punks, like, you know,
well, just for now.
It's really great. Right. Yeah. I'd love to meet you in person, and I'd love to come to Philadelphia, and I'd love to go out to Boston to see Lou at Rum Bar. And the farthest out we've gotten is Pittsburgh. That's the farthest we went. And I feel like we got a taste. We've never toured the East Coast. ever. So hit me up, people. I want to play out there, but what venues are going to be available and like what bands. I mean, I haven't even heard bookers like talking about it. I get sometimes requests from bands saying like, oh, like what's going on? You gonna play some shows? Like we should do some shows together. And I'm like, what shows? Like you tell me. Like I'll be there, but I have not heard anything. Like, have you heard anything?
Um, well, I'm friends with Sam from Down by Law at Black Valley Moon, and we put his record out, and he said September they're doing some actual band shows. So
In enclosed environments or outdoor environments?
that I'm not sure. He's in Florida,
Yeah.
so it may be outdoors. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Florida's different.
Yeah,
I know Florida, like Fest is in Florida, right? And
yeah, yeah.
somebody was contacting me about that. That's actually the one I got. He's like, oh, we're gonna play Fest. I'm like, well, good for you. Then you're bigger than we are. Like, have fun. I haven't heard anything. I mean, we were supposed to do Europe in 2020 and do Punk Rock Raduno. And so hopefully we'll do that. I can't imagine this summer, but I think like to bring it back to the beginning of the interview, I don't know if you recorded this part, we're talking about dogs, my dog, but the
Yeah.
bar's low. The bar is so freaking low right now. Like I remember frantically trying to get all these details together to like find a train route to go to Belgium to pick up this one drummer, Johnny Trash, that we were going to pick up. And then we're going to go here, and then like being stressed about all the cool stuff going on and like trying to make it work. And like, now I'm just lucky if I read a book in a month, I get my new glasses prescription filled, which I haven't yet. I walk my dog. Like I'm almost like to the point where I don't even want to think about shows. Not that I don't believe it will happen, but I have to just focus on writing songs because otherwise I'm going to go nuts. I mean, there's no solid ground. We're pretending like we know. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some outdoor events, but nobody really knows when this is going to come back to normal and when audiences feel safe to come back. I mean,
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave it on that note, but I mean, it is kind of like, it's the new normal. We can't, as much as we want to revert back to how things were, I don't think it's going to be the same. And I have to just like release myself from the expectation that we're all going to sweat on each other. We're not going to sweat on each other for a long time.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I have a little bit of a different perspective. I think
I'd love to hear it.
It's not that I disagree with you. I think it's going to be a long time, but I think once we get the green light and everybody's been vaccinated, I think people are just going to go nuts and get out. They're going to go out. They're going to go to more shows. They're going to go on more events because they just got to get out.
You might be right about that. I've heard this philosophy and I agree, but I guess time will tell. I do understand what you're saying. I've also heard that maybe culturally we will just start wearing masks at certain times of the year and be kind of more like China in that way, where we kind of just wear masks more, especially people who have immunity issues. What's it called?
Yeah.
Immunodeficient. That could be the thing too. So it's like you could still go out to a show, but maybe, and I've also heard that certain percentages of a very high percentage of people aren't wanting to get the shot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those numbers are right, but it's like, my Reed was just talking to me last night. He's like, I'm not gonna curtail my entire life because some bozo doesn't want the shot. Not to be like political about it,
right,
which I kind of am being, but it's a very interesting situation because I don't know. I'm just tying my tongue in knots because I honestly don't know how I feel about it. We're all kind of grappling with it. I don't know. My parents are getting the shot, so I'm happy about that. So I'll just leave it there. Like I'm happy that the older people in my life are getting immunity. They're getting the shots. Like thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, because their immune system is easily compromised in comparison.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Hayley. I really enjoyed talking to you, not just about the music, but getting your your take on life, and it's really refreshing to have met you. And I think you're great. I think your music's great, and I love that you put out so much music because I can never get enough.
Ah, that's so kind. Thank you so much, Jeff. You're great.
Awesome. So I want to say goodbye, but not for long. Hopefully I can talk to you about more of your music soon.
Yay. So yeah, if people want to find me, I think I made it all very clear. Also, I just called you Jeff. You're Ryan.
Yeah. You must
I'm
have a lot of
sorry.
interviews today.
I don't have a lot of interviews today, but I just realized that as I was saying it, I'm like, you're not Jeff, you're Ryan. So definitely keep that. It can just show how human I am. Ryan, I really appreciate just the amount of time and just the fact that you're like, you know, trying to reach out during COVID. It really helps. I've said this before, but like, oh my goodness, it makes such a difference to reach out to people and just to be talking to someone who has like-minded values, and that we're still doing this silly thing called punk rock music, even though the world is burning. Like, it gives me validation that what we're doing is, you know, somehow getting to the right ears. And I really, really, really appreciate it.
It is getting to the right ears, and I've found the more you do, the more chance you have to succeed in what you want to get out there. And I think you're doing a great service, and I love the fact that you put out a lot of music. I can't state that enough.
Oh, well, there'll be more coming out. Thank you so much, Ryan. Tell your girls, like, I'll send them some coloring books, or I don't know how old they are, but hey, everyone loves a coloring book. I'll send them some cute stuff if they want. And if they are cool enough to like rock and roll, because a lot of the young kids don't even know what it is. So yeah, can't wait to like maybe have a little meet and greet with them at some point.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's do it.
They're 15 and 17.
Awesome. Okay, then definitely bring them a 40 of beer. No, I'm kidding. A patch, maybe, like a t-shirt. Yeah, for sure.
My one daughter wears a Joan Jett shirt to bed.
Hell yeah.
So
Joan Jett is our, you know, she's the deity. Like, that is who we want to be.
Yeah. She's always been a lot to me and a lot of people, and I think what she did in her life, if you've seen the documentary, it's kind of like been a slow rise for her, and respect wise, and I love her so much.
Yeah, I'll have to I've been wanting to see it. I know it was in the theaters for a little bit and I missed it. So I'm need to download it or whatever I can do, because yeah, I mean, just to leave on that note where it's like, hey, if someone else doesn't want to put out your music, you put out your own music. And
Yeah, totally.
I definitely did that. And she found people that really respected and understood who she was. And what a badass, honestly. Like, Dolly Parton, Joan Jett, like, my pantheon of women is just like so awesome right now. I'm so happy that they're all still with us and alive on this planet. Like, if I have a chance to see Joan Jett in 2021, despite all of my, you know, oh, we're not going to have shows, I will be there. I will be there to see Joan Jett. I want to see her rocking those leather pants. That will make me so happy. So let's just hope that happens.
It would make me very happy too. I want to say thank you and be safe.
Thank you, Ryan.
And I hope your dog recovers quickly. It's not in too much pain.
Yeah, he'll be all right. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you hopefully again soon.
Okay, cool.